What if the very thing you are crying over today is the reason you will stand stronger tomorrow, Mahat? If what feels like the end of your story is actually the place where Allah is rewriting it. There are moments in life when everything falls apart at once. Plans fail, people leave, dreams shatter, and you sit in silence wondering how you ended up here. So Allah, you prayed, you tried, you trusted, yet life still broke you. But listen carefully. Not every breakdown is destruction. Some breakdowns are divine redirection. When life breaks you, it is not because Allah has turned away from you. It is often because He is turning you back to Him. Because comfort can distract the heart, but hardship awakens it. Think about the nights when your tears became your strongest was. The moments when you had nothing left but Allah. And somehow that was enough to keep you breathing. That was not weakness. That was the beginning of rebuilding. If your heart feels heavy today, if your faith feels tested, if you're standing in the middle of uncertainty, then know this: you're not abandoned. You are being prepared. Because Allah does not break hearts without purpose. He breaks them open so He can fill them with strength, faith, and light. And today, before you give up, before you lose hope, before you believe you are finished, listen carefully. This is where your rebuilding begins. Trust that hardship is not punishment but preparation, but a mindset that transforms how a believer looks at pain, loss, and delay, because the heart often assumes that difficulty means rejection, while faith teaches that difficulty can be a form of attention and care from Allah. When something hurts, the first question that rises is, why me? But a deeper question is, what is Allah teaching me? Because punishment pushes a person away, while preparation draws a person closer. And punishment, hardship often does the opposite of what punishment does. It softens the heart, increases humility, strengthens reliance, and awakens the soul to realities it once ignored. When life is easy, the heart can become distracted, attached to comfort, proud of achievement, and forgetful of its creator. But when hardship arrives, it strips away false strength and reminds the human being of how dependent they truly are. And that reminder itself is a mercy, not a curse. Many people are given ease and slowly drift away without realizing it, while others are given trials and through them rise spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The believer understands that Allah does not waste pain, and that every struggle carries a purpose, even if it is not immediately visible. Hardship prepares you for responsibilities you once asked for, and of Allah, for levels you once dreamed about. Because not every blessing can be carried by an unprepared heart. Patience is learned in waiting. Gratitude is learned in loss. Sincerity is learned in desperation. And strength is learned in moments where there is no one left to lean on except Allah. And these qualities are not built in comfort, they are forged in difficulty. Preparation often feels uncomfortable because growth stretches the soul beyond what it knows, and that stretching can feel like breaking. When plans fall apart and expectations collapse, it is easy to think that Allah is displeased. But often He is protecting, redirecting, and reshaping. Because some paths look good but would harm you, and some delays feel painful but save you from regret later. What you see is loss, but what Allah sees is protection. What you feel is delay, but what Allah plans is timing. What you experience is hardship, but what Allah intends is readiness. When hardship comes, it also reveals truth. It shows you who you really are and who people around you really are. It separates reliance on creation from reliance on the Creator. And this separation is necessary for a strong foundation. Because a heart tied too tightly to the world will always break when the world changes. So Allah loosens those ties, not to hurt you, but to free you and prepare you for a deeper peace that does not depend on circumstances. Preparation also means cleansing, because some pain removes arrogance, some hardship removes heedlessness, and some trials remove sins. The Prophet taught that even a thorn that pricks a believer can erase sins. So how much more can long patience erase burdens we do not even realize we carry? When hardship leads you to prayer, tears, humility, and reflection, it cannot be punishment, because punishment hardens the heart, while this kind of pain purifies it and brings it closer to Allah. Trusting that hardship is preparation requires faith in Allah's wisdom even when the heart is tired. It requires believing that Allah is more merciful to you than you are to yourself, and that He would never break you without purpose, never delay you without reason, and never test you beyond your capacity, because preparation always comes before elevation. And the believer who understands this begins to walk through hardship with hope instead of despair, and with trust instead of fear. Broken moments are places where faith grows deeper, because faith is not proven in comfort but revealed in crisis. And many people believe they have strong belief until life shakes them and removes what they were leaning on. When everything is stable, it is easy to say Alhamdulillah. But when the heart is hurting, the future feels uncertain, and the answers do not come quickly, that is where faith is either weakened or rooted deeply. And for the believer, those broken moments become sacred spaces where the soul finally turns fully toward Allah, not out of habit, but out of need and sincerity. When something breaks in your life, it creates a crack, and that crack allows light to enter. Because before the break, the heart may have been sealed with distractions, routines, and false security. But brokenness strips away illusions and leaves you exposed. And that exposure brings honesty into your relationship with Allah. Your dua becomes real, your tears become sincere, and your reliance becomes pure, because you are no longer praying from strength but from surrender. And there is a special closeness that comes when a servant stands before Allah with nothing but need. Faith grows deeper in broken moments because they force reflection. A person begins to question priorities, intentions, and attachments. And in that questioning, the heart slowly returns to what truly matters. You realize that many things you chased did not bring peace, and many people you relied on could not stay. And this realization hurts, but it also guides, because it redirects the heart back to the one who never leaves. When the heart finds Allah in its lowest moment, that connection becomes unshakable. Spoken moments also teach patience, not the kind that is spoken, but the kind that is lived. Patience that stays when there is no sign of relief. Patience that continues to pray even when the heart feels empty. Patience that trusts even when the mind is confused. And this patience strengthens faith, because it turns belief into action and endurance. And Allah loves this quiet patience that only He sees, and He rewards it in ways the servant often does not expect. In brokenness, faith becomes simpler and more pure, because pride is removed and expectations are lowered. A person no longer demands but hopes, no longer questions Allah's plan but seeks His closeness, no longer relies on control but accepts dependence. And this simplicity brings peace, because faith was never meant to be complicated. It was meant to be a relationship of trust and surrender. And broken moments remove the noise that hides that relationship. Many of the strongest believers were shaped by loss, disappointment, and hardship, because those moments carved depth into their iman. A faith that has been tested does not shake easily because it has already stood in the storm and survived. And when relief finally comes, that faith does not disappear because it was not built on ease, but on remembrance, patience, and dua. And even when life improves, the believer carries humility, knowing how fragile life can be and how close Allah was when everything else fell apart. Faith that grows in broken moments also carries compassion, because pain softens the heart and makes it more aware of others' struggles. A person who has cried before Allah understands the tears of others and becomes more gentle, more patient, and more sincere. And this is part of spiritual growth, because true faith is not only about surviving hardship, but allowing hardship to refine the heart. When a believer looks back and sees how broken moments brought them closer to Allah, strengthened their trust, and deepened their faith, they realize that those moments were not empty or wasted, but were foundations upon which a stronger iman was built, one that could not have grown in comfort alone. Allah rebuilds hearts before He changes circumstances, because the state of the heart determines how a person receives both hardship and ease. And many people ask for a change in their situation while their hearts are still heavy with impatience, fear, pride, or attachment. And if circumstances were to change without the heart being prepared, the blessing could become a test greater than the hardship itself. A healed situation with a broken heart would still feel empty, while a steady heart can find peace even before relief arrives. Which is why Allah, in His wisdom, often begins His work within before altering what is around you. Say, Allahi bibah, Abu Salam altered what is around you. When a heart is wounded by loss, disappointment, or delay, it carries emotions that can distort perspective, such as bitterness, hopelessness, or anger. And if these remain unresolved, they affect every blessing that follows. So Allah gently works on the heart through reflection, prayer, patience, and reliance, slowly rebuilding trust, humility, and sincerity. Because a heart that trusts Allah will not collapse when tested, and a heart that is grateful will not become arrogant when given ease. And this internal rebuilding is a form of mercy, even though it may feel slow and unseen. Changing circumstances without changing the heart can lead to the same mistakes being repeated because the lessons were never learned. A person may move from hardship to comfort, but still carry the same fears, attachments, and weaknesses that caused pain before. So Allah delays the outward change until the inner understanding has matured. When patience is rooted, reliance is strengthened, and intention is purified, the heart becomes ready to carry what it once desired without losing itself. And this is why sometimes you feel spiritually closer to Allah during hardship than during ease, because the heart is being shaped in ways comfort cannot achieve. Allah rebuilds the heart by bringing it back to Him, because distance from Allah is the true hardship. Even if life appears successful, when the heart is connected to Allah, circumstances lose their power to define happiness or sorrow, because peace no longer depends on outcomes but on trust and remembrance. And this is the strongest foundation a believer can have, because situations will always change, but a heart attached to Allah remains steady through every season. This rebuilding often happens through quiet moments that seem insignificant. Nights of dua, tears that fall unseen, verses of the Quran that suddenly feel personal, and moments of surrender where the heart stops fighting reality and starts trusting divine wisdom. These moments slowly replace anxiety with calm, resentment with acceptance, and fear with hope. And although the situation outside may look the same, the person inside is no longer the same. And this inner shift is the true transformation. When Allah knows that the heart has learned what it needed to learn, He changes the circumstances in ways that surprise the servant. Doors open with ease, relief comes from unexpected places, and solutions appear without force. Because the heart is now aligned with divine timing. And even if circumstances do not change immediately, the rebuilt heart can carry the weight without breaking, and that itself is a form of victory. Understanding that Allah rebuilds hearts first allows a believer to wait with purpose instead of frustration, to focus on growth instead of comparison, and to trust that delay is not denial but development. Because Allah knows that the heart you are becoming needs to exist before the life you are asking for arrives. And when both finally meet, the blessing becomes a source of peace rather than a test of endurance. Patience is not weakness, it is quiet strength, because true patience requires control over the self when emotions are heavy and outcomes are uncertain. And this control is far more difficult than reacting in anger, complaint, or despair. Many people think strength is shown by speaking loudly, demanding change, or forcing results. But real strength appears when a person remains steady without knowing how or when relief will come, and continues to trust Allah without losing balance. Patience is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to carry pain without allowing it to corrupt faith, character, or hope. Quiet strength means enduring without needing recognition, because patience is often unseen by people but fully seen by Allah. The nights when a person cries alone, prays alone, and holds themselves together without applause are moments of immense strength, even if the world never acknowledges them. Patience does not mean a person feels nothing. It means they feel deeply, but choose restraint, wisdom, and reliance over reaction. And this choice requires inner power that only faith can sustain. Patience also protects the heart, because impatience often leads to regretful words, broken relationships, and decisions made from emotion rather than clarity. When a person is patient, they give their heart time to settle, their mind time to reflect, and their soul time to reconnect with Allah. And in that space of stillness, clarity grows, and what once felt unbearable becomes manageable, because patience allows perspective to form, and perspective softens pain. This quiet strength builds resilience, because a patient heart does not shatter under pressure, it bends but does not break. And each time a person chooses patience, they become stronger than before, even if they do not realize it in a moment, because endurance trains the soul to trust timing over urgency and wisdom over impulse. And this strength carries into every area of life, making the believer calmer, more grounded, and less shaken by change. Patience is also an act of worship, because it reflects trust in Allah's plan and acceptance of His wisdom, even when it is not understood. When a believer remains patient, they are saying without words that Allah knows better than they do. And that belief itself is powerful, because it shifts the burden from the self to the Creator and lightens the heart even while the trial remains. Quiet strength does not seek revenge or rush justice, because it knows that Allah is the best disposer of affairs. Patience allows a person to walk away from what drains them, forgive when holding on to anger would poison the heart, and wait for outcomes without compromising values. And this kind of strength leaves a person dignified, even in hardship, because they did not allow pain to make them smaller or bitter. Patience is also strength, because it keeps a person moving forward even slowly rather than collapsing completely. Progress during hardship may not look impressive, but consistency in prayer, effort, and good character during difficulty is a sign of immense inner power. Because it is easy to give up when things are hard, but it takes strength to continue showing up with faith intact. When a believer understands patience as strength, they stop seeing waiting as failure and silence as weakness. They begin to see endurance as preparation, and restraint as victory, because every moment of patience is stored with Allah, and every silent struggle carries a reward greater than what is visible. And this understanding turns hardship into a training ground, where the soul becomes stronger, calmer, and more connected to its Creator. Every fall carries a lesson meant to elevate you, because failure is not designed to end a believer but to refine them. And many people measure their worth by success, so when they fall they assume they are unworthy or forgotten. But faith teaches that falling is part of learning, and that Allah allows setbacks not to humiliate but to educate, because elevation without understanding often leads to arrogance, while elevation after humility leads to wisdom and balance. When a person falls, it forces honesty with the self, because excuses fade and reality becomes clear. And in that clarity, growth begins. Mistakes reveal weaknesses that were hidden during success. And those weaknesses, if acknowledged, can be transformed into strength. A fall shows where intention was weak, where reliance was misplaced, or where effort was incomplete. And recognizing these areas allows a believer to rebuild on a stronger foundation.